The number of people worldwide who've died from coronavirus-related deaths has topped 1 million. And even with that figure, the true number of cases is likely to be higher still because of the number of cases that go undetected. These are the latest figures from the Johns Hopkins University tracker. You can see that figure's already soared beyond the 1 million mark within the past couple of hours. The number of recorded infections is now more than 33 million. The US, Brazil and India make up more than 50% of those cases, and those three countries also account for nearly half of all global deaths. Well, the UN Secretary-General has been reacting to what he called a mind-numbing figure, but Antonio Guterres also called on the world not to lose hope and urged people to continue observing necessary precautions to curb the spread of the virus.
Our world has reached an agonizing milestone, the loss of 1 million lives from the COVID-19 pandemic. It's a mind-numbing figure. Yet we must never lose sight of each and every individual life. They were fathers and mothers, wives and husbands, brothers and sisters, friends and colleagues. The pain has been multiplied by the savageness of this disease. Risks of infection kept families from bedsides, and the process of mourning and celebrating a life was often made impossible.
Well, the US remains the worst affected nation. Heidi Jo Castro has more from Silver Spring in Maryland.
Out of these 1 million plus deaths worldwide, we know that at least 1 in 5 were deaths due to COVID here in the United States. The U.S. total death toll still far surpassing that of any other country in the world. Public health officials here are also concerned now that although things seem to be under control to an extent, they're fearful of a second wave, and they're looking particularly at places like New York City, which saw catastrophic losses of life in April, then seeming to contain the virus successfully, only to have new hotspots flaring up in these days that we're experiencing now. President Trump, though, saying that this nation is turning a corner on the pandemic. He hosted a Rose Garden event at the White House today in which he announced the distribution of 150 million rapid COVID diagnostic tests. They would produce results, he says, within 15 minutes. 50 million are going toward vulnerable communities, including nursing homes. The remaining 100 million to states and territories to be given out in schools and in work settings.
Last week, we crossed a historic milestone when the United States conducted our 100 millionth test, far more than any other country, and not even close, actually. Second seems to be India, with 1.5 billion people, and the numbers would be probably at least 50 million more tests by us. We've conducted more tests than the entire European Union and more than all of Latin America combined.
This is not the deep brain biopsy that we talk about. This will generally be done by a healthcare provider, but it can be done supervised. It's this easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Into the test. Twisted 3 times, the adhesive is pulled off, and you wait 15 minutes, and that is the test. It really could not be easier than this. This is a very sophisticated little piece of cardboard with lots of antibodies and incredible technology into that.
Well, a new breakthrough test there being announced at the White House. But despite all the testing and the claims by the US president, 1 in 5 of the world's coronavirus deaths have been in the United States. Now, the daily death toll is on the decline there, but there has been another surge in new infections, and with it, fears of a second wave. Kristen Salumi has more.
Anthony and Rosemary Terrio were married for 65 years. They died in New York 5 days apart during the peak of the coronavirus pandemic.
They met when my mom was like 17, and they were together ever since. They moved to Queens right after they got married.
The disease has made its way through New York and the Terrio family. Now it is the Midwestern United States that are seeing the most new cases, which are on the rise for the first time in 8 weeks, as the nationwide death toll tops 200,000.
8 family members had it. You know, it went the whole gamut. My sister was taking care of my mother. She caught it. Then she gave it to her son, and her son gave it to his partner. And my brother gave it to his wife, and my other brother caught it and gave it to his wife.
While the other family members have recovered, the impact of the disease is still being felt. Experts attribute the recent spike on the reopening of schools and universities, as well as large end-of-summer gatherings. But the Terrios also blame politicians and ordinary people across the country they feel aren't doing enough to stop the spread.
It's just I'm seeing so much people not, being careless with wearing a mask when they can save a life. And there are so many other old people that I don't want this to happen to them, when they can just be responsible and not complacent with something that they may survive. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an old person. It could be a woman battling breast cancer, or a child battling leukemia or something like that. And it's just a mask, for a few minutes.
A family struggling with loss and hoping that amid the uncertainties of a pandemic, others can be spared their pain.